Call to order.
The City of San Clemente respects the many people of different faiths who reside here. The City Council historically begins its session with an invocation offered by one of the religious leaders of our community with full appreciation of our shared belief that we are one nation under God. And while the city cannot endorse any particular religion, we respect the religious freedom and freedom of expression of all our citizens to pray as they feel led to pray. This evening's invocation will be given by Jim Davis, Senior Chaplain with the Orange County Sheriff Department.
Please stand and remain standing, and while Councilman Member Ham will give the Pledge of Allegiance afterwards.
Shall we pray? Our gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for our beautiful city of San Clemente. We pray your blessing on the meeting tonight and the business at hand. We pray your protection upon our deputies that are out in the field. Watch over them, we pray. Also our firefighters and those that are serving here in the city. Bless the children in our schools. Protect them, Lord, from drugs and the evil things that are around. And bless our teachers and administrators and principals. Thank you for this beautiful community. We pray your blessing tonight in your precious name. Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilmember Ferguson.
Here.
Councilmember Ham.
Here.
Councilmember Ward.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Bain.
Here.
Mayor Swartz.
Here.
First item on the agenda is a toll road update.
No update from me tonight.
No updates.
Nothing.
No. Okay. Next is a report from Michelle Schumacher, the city's representative to the Orange County Vector Control District concerning vector issues.
Hi, good evening, Mayor Schwartz and the council. Good evening. I just wanted to give you an update of what's been going on at Orange County Mosquito and Vector Control District. It's pretty exciting. Last year they stopped using rat bait for their service calls in the county. They've won some awards for this switch. The way the rat bait was working is that it's covered in attractant, usually bird seed. So often the rats will take the rat bait out of the traps, and it gets onto public areas where dogs, small children, wildlife can inadvertently be the non-intended targets. Also, the rats, when they eat it, and die, are often being consumed by various birds of prey and other wild animals. So it's exciting that they've made this switch. I know the city of Malibu's also made the switch, so that's something that they've been being recognized within the state for that switch and their fine work in that area. They've recently updated their website. If you've never gone on to Orange County Mosquito Vector Control website, it's a great time to do it. They have amazing information in there, not only of all the vectors, but the services they offer, from mosquito fish to requesting a service call if you need it. We've had in the past years, when the threat of aerial spraying was going on in 2014, they have done an incredible job with education since kind of that call to action. So it's imperative for residents to be aware of their communities, especially front and backyards. Mosquitoes can breed in anything as small as a bottle cap. So if you have standing water in your front or backyard, make sure to just get in the habit of checking and dumping and tossing it weekly, because that provides an ideal mosquito breeding ground. Unfortunately, this past quarter, the Aedes mosquito has turned up in San Clemente. So despite that it's kind of the quiet time for vector control being the winter months, we will be, probably experiencing greater mosquito activity closer to summer. So it's a good time for residents to just get in the good habit of checking for that standing water and tossing it. Let's see. Also, when summer comes, San Clemente is uniquely positioned with our rolling hills. We have never been a hot spot for the particularly bad mosquitoes as Santa Ana, Fullerton, Garden Grove. They've kind of had more concentrated bad mosquito outbreaks. But it's important for residents not to overwater. If we're overwatering in the summer, it collects in the drainage areas and provides an ideal mosquito breeding ground. So, the other thing that we covered at the last vector control meeting was that they've had such an increase in service calls, which is wonderful, and I attribute that to their incredible education outreach of it, that they've been doing over the past few years, that, you know, people know that they're out there and can help. They were anticipating if it continues to have the same level of service calls that they may be put in a position where aerial spraying would be needed for the county in coming years. So I just hope that residents will take that personal responsibility and be checking their yards and do it weekly and kind of spread the word to keep everyone safe from the mosquito-borne illnesses. So thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to reiterate on that a little bit more. We are, you know, we're seeing we're back to when I was a kid and actually have rain again. And I know most of us don't know how to live in a climate where there's actually water coming down out of the sky. But it's something we need to realize that, you know, especially here in where we end up with a rainy area, but a time, and then we end up with the sun coming out and warming up, and then we have standing water. So please be aware of your property and make sure that there is no standing water left for any extensive time, because that's where they breed. Your animals can get bit, your kids can get bit, so it's important for you to think about that. And as far as the summer usage and water conservation, we're going to be talking about that in a little bit. We'll be talking about it later today, so thanks. Anything else? Nope.
Next is a report from Lieutenant Peters, San Clemente Police Services Chief, concerning an update on San Clemente Police Services.
Got one fan. Thanks, Brad. Council members, thank you for the invite and a chance to give you a quick update. Councilmember Ham, I tried to keep the PowerPoint slides to 4. I apologize. I could only squish so much on there, but I did cut them down a lot. So we'll get through this a little bit. I just wanted to give a general overview of 2018 so everybody could see where we were. If you look at calls for service, we've pretty much hovered in that 29,000-30,000 area from 2016, 2017, 2018. Priority 1 calls, those are the lights and sirens, dangerous calls. Those are, again, right around that same little area. 393 this year, up from last year, but down from the year before that. If we go down observation calls, I kind of wanted to give an education. Typically, when assigned calls go up, obviously observation calls go down. From my standpoint, watching the numbers, it's actually good when I see the fluctuation in the numbers, because that means that when the calls are not getting assigned, that means the deputies are out in the field searching for things. Now, that being said, I want to compliment this group and Mr. Makshanoff, because the cameras that you guys put in that are in our report writing room and briefing room, they already paid off. Today, right before we came up here at 4, one of the deputies was down there writing, and he looks up and he's like, huh, what are those guys doing? Puts a call out to one of the other deputies who's in the area, who stops them, and they all had illegal narcotics on them. The stop wouldn't have happened if he wouldn't have been looking up at the camera and went, they've been standing there for a really long time, this is kind of odd. Called a buddy who was in the field, buddy went by, stopped them, they all had dope on them. We got the dope off the streets and they got their ticket. So it's just one of those things. And I was actually excited. I was like, great timing. I'm going up there to talk to him right now. So thank you for that gift. It's going to pay off. Traffic, Our accidents are down in 2018, which is good. Our citations are about the same. We're up as far as citations go. As far as hazardous citations, we're up, and that might be that might show that the accidents, the traffic index, but that's a fluctuating number. That will show a little bit of the more tickets that we're handing out. Typically, the slower people will drive. So we have decreased a little bit in accidents, and our DUIs are down also. So that's not a bad thing. Part 1 crimes. Our Part 1 crimes, I just keep adding to the years of Part 1 crimes so people can see what happens. If you want to correlate it to Prop 47, they changed the criteria of crimes. So what used to be a Part 1 crime wasn't a Part 1 crime anymore, and that's why you see the dramatic drop in 2014. Now, like anything, even if you change it, if it's meant to grow, it's going to grow, and the other crimes that were left have grown. So we've increased about 12% in Part 1 crimes. Our assaults really shot up about 71%. Now, they shot up 45, so it's not like 71% sounds, oh my gosh, we had 45 more assaults. Our thefts increased. Our robberies, which theft through force or fear, decreased by 24%, and our burglaries decreased by 19% in the Part 1s. The thefts is what everybody is feeling, though, around our communities. So I'll talk about that more at the end. So here's our Part 1 crimes. This is the breakdown in a pie chart, and also a basic definition of what the Part 1 crimes are. So criminal homicide, none. This is good. Forcible rapes are low. Robberies are lower. Our assaults were up, and our larcenies were up. But burglaries were down, and motor vehicles were slightly up. Now, here's a crime map for the community for all of 28. So I broke it at Pico. So if you look up at the map, you'll see Pico is our dividing line. We have the north part of the city and the south part of the city. You can see by the placement of the dots where the majority of our crimes are committed within the city. And this is a traditional map where every time we see the map, this is almost what it always looks like. Even when I was on patrol here in 2000, this is what it looked like. So most of our crime is down in what we refer to as the 74, 73, and 72 area. That's those 3 areas. That has the majority of the crime. The larger areas in the north, that whole northern section is broken into 2 areas, 75 and 76. 76 is more the Talega area. So that's the Part 1 crimes for 2018 mapped out. So it gives you guys a visual of where the majority pockets of the crimes are. And depending on the time of the day, depending on the day of the week, we will put resources in those locations. If we're seeing some type of crime spree kicking up, we'll put resources in those areas to hopefully get lucky and get to stop the crime, if that makes sense. Part two, we jumped by three crimes total. It's interesting when you break it down per Part 2 crime, the misdemeanor assaults, the lower assaults, were only at 257, while fraud was up slightly by 20, vandalism up slightly, narcotics down, DUIs down, disorderly conduct down, and of course liquor laws were up. And those are open container type of crimes. So those were up. Investigations. Total cases submitted to investigations last year was 1,709. Of those, 276 were priority 1 cases. That's a case with good evidentiary value that an arrest is likely, and we're pursuing it hard and quick. And priority 2, there's some evidence available. Not a lot, but there's some that we can try and work with. And priority 3, typically there's no evidence. So my bike was outside and then it was stolen and it was gone. There's no evidence of anything to follow up on. There's none of that. So those are a little bit more difficult. 201 cases cleared last year, And I threw up on the side Southwest operations. We are 46% of Southwest operations, all of Southwest operations caseload, San Clemente by itself. So Southwest is Aliso Viejo, Dana Point, Laguna Niguel, Laguna Hills, Laguna Woods, and San Juan Capistrano. We're 46% of the cases. The next closest cities to us is Lake Forest had 1,334 cases submitted. Mission Viejo had 1,461 cases submitted, and Dana Point had 973 submitted. So that just kind of gives you a breakdown of exactly what's going on. I was going to bring, we recently hit the news regarding the Ashley Bemis case, and people got to see exactly what's going to happen and what she got and everything. I was going to bring the cases of files up here to give people a look at what it takes to investigate something like that, and the time it takes to investigate. And if you read the paper, you know exactly what the discipline was or the punishment was. So I was going to bring that up, but I didn't want to carry all the boxes up the stairs. But that's a common thing. People don't recognize how long these cases can take, and unfortunately, we live in a society that wants things now. They want the crime committed, the officers on scene, the investigations done, and the DA's prosecuted in an hour show, because that's what they've seen on Law and Order. It can get done that way, and it doesn't work that way. So we have a lot of cases submitted for investigations. Real quick, just me on my soapbox trying to educate the public, because I know I'm on camera. As with every time I do this every year, lock your cars, lock your homes. If you've got valuables, if you've gone to the outlets and you've shopped, don't put them in your front seat. Put them in your trunk where they're not visible. Because what happens is they walk through, they smash your window, they grab, and they go. Okay? So don't leave valuables. Don't leave really expensive laptop computers and things like that in your vehicles when you park them in your driveway overnight. Don't do that. Keep things hidden. Watch who you invite to your house. A lot of times, I can't say a lot of times, occasionally there's a nexus behind you had somebody in your house, whether it was something you were having done in your house and you were having people walk through, or something you had happen in your house and allowed somebody to look at your house, encase your house, and figure out if they wanted to burglarize you or not. So pay attention to who you allow in your front door. Cameras. The cameras that are out there for everybody, I know I had a great meeting last week in Talega. Councilmember Bain was there. The Talega residents are motivated and ready to go. And I was very impressed by them and what they want to do for their community and for that section of the community and how they want things done, and they were very motivated. Those cameras really help us a lot. Do me a favor. If you can get your cameras to be able to grab a license plate or grab something of that, because a lot of these people doing the door checks, they're wearing masks now because they know there's so many cameras. There's always a car trailing them, and we don't arrest the smart ones. If you can get a plate, it helps us out tremendously. So it's one of those things. I know that some of the areas in Talega are talking, homeowners associations putting together things to be able to put their own camera systems in their areas, as well as possible LPRs, license plate readers, which would be huge for us. So scams. This is why I put this on here, because it just happened today again. It's a very common scam. Residents are getting phone calls from somebody who's telling them that their child has been kidnapped and they're going to kill their child. Go to the bank, take out money, wire it to this location now. If you hang up with me, I'm going to kill your kid. And it happened again today. Luckily, the bank called us while the person was on the phone. We were able to get there, make a call to the school, find out their child was at school, and everything was fine. But those types of scams are happening nonstop. People will somehow get an email or get something at home, and they'll be told their computer has a virus. Log on to this, and they go to this place, and their computer didn't have a virus until they did that. And now all of their information is out there. So don't do things. If you get something, somebody's asking for money, If you've got a question, and I know we can't solve everything, but I can promise you a deputy will come because they see these. The deputy regarding the phone kidnapping today, he's seen 5 of them. So one deputy alone has seen 5 of them. He's seen 3 of the computer ones. So if, as the public gets these things, if they're like, something doesn't feel right, listen to your instincts. More than likely, something's not right. So give us a call. Let us look into it. In the kidnapping one, it is scary because I have children. I know a lot of you have children. You're told your child's kidnapped and gonna die. You're gonna do everything you can. And that's a scary situation that happens. Donating money, I just caution you from donating money to an individual. Research who you're donating it to. Make sure it is some type of organization that is official and possibly will be able to give you tax credit for what you're donating. It needs to be official. When you start donating money, sometimes in the hundreds of thousands of dollars to individuals, we're probably not going to be able to recoup that for you. So make sure you pay attention to that. Another one, and this is on the heels of something that happened today in another city, monitor your children's social media. Watch closely. It's funny, just the other night I was at a restaurant with my family and I looked next to us and there was a 2-year-old with an iPad and swiping and clicking away at 2. We're not engaging the kids into conversations, we're just giving them an electronic device. The problem with that is that they get on social media and they start exploring. Social media is full of bullies. It's full of it's full of bad things that your children can get sucked into. Please monitor their social medias. Look closely. It's critically important. And on the top of that, watch your own social media, not only for your own security, because you're putting stuff on social media that's allowing predators to know too much personal stuff about you, and now that they can play off of that. And second, if you are the type that goes on social media and possibly says things that you haven't vetted out, that are not accurate, don't think that your children aren't reading what you post. Don't think that you're not the example for your children. It's the same thing as a personal conduct in the social media realm. So I can't say it hard enough, especially after the events of today in another city. Please monitor what your children are doing and watch closely. Have conversations with them and figure out what's going on in their lives. Finally, call us when crimes occur. Do me a favor, don't Facebook us. Don't call us. You can text us. We talked about that last time. But give us a call. When you text me that a crime's coming on and you won't call 911, it's very slow for me to get the text, find out details, go to dispatch, just call dispatch and put those in there. As I've stated before, it's not okay to exaggerate crimes, especially when you make them into a priority call where there's gun involved or there's violence involved. That means 2 or more officers are rolling code 3 through the city, lights and sirens, and it is unsafe for everybody. So report as accurate as possible and reference what you're seeing. Don't exaggerate. That's it.
Just one thing to add, since I got my tour of Orange County Fire Authority, and we were discussing the text 911 system. And one thing I think all our residents and everyone needs to understand is it's not giving them your exact location. So when you call 911 or you text 911, be sure to know where you are, and so that you can tell them where you are so that they can get there timely. So it's just an add-on. Don't assume they know because you're on your cell phone, and every cell phone, tracks locations and they should be able to read it. The system doesn't do that. So be sure to be prepared to let them know where you are. Are there any other questions for Sheriff Peters?
Just have a comment. Chief Peters, thanks again for going down to Talega the other night. I was there pinch hitting for Councilmember Ferguson. I was happy to do that. There were a lot of good suggestions that were made. In fact, I thought it was an incredibly productive night. One of the things that came up repeatedly was the concept of a neighborhood watch, and I know we had a crime prevention specialist in the past. We haven't had one. What are some things that folks can do if they want to organize a neighborhood watch in their area? I know people in Talega were very interested in that, but is there anything that the sheriffs are doing right now? I know we don't have crime prevention specialist yet, but anything they can do to start organizing that?
Well, first off, almost everybody in the city has my email. So they can shoot me an email, and I can try and help to the best of my ability to get things off the ground. The key to a neighborhood watch is two things. One, the community is involved. They are involved, and they are involved in their own protection in combination with us. Because only 10% of society commit most of the crimes. So when you have 90% of society paying attention and watching out for each other, it changes the odds a lot. You don't feel as vulnerable anymore, right? So that's what Neighborhood Watch does. A key part of it is the empowerment and education that we provide to those block captains at trainings, or to those Neighborhood Watch meetings that they have quarterly in their area. That education that we will provide to them, and that question answer time, that moment to where somebody can clarify what we can, what we can't do. Do I engage in this situation? Do I not engage? What happens in this situation? We can answer all those questions. So that education is really important. So until we get a crime prevention specialist to fill that gap, I will put it on myself and sergeants and deputies to do our best to at least facilitate that education process. If we can get communities to come together and, hey, meet up. We had another one Monday night. Mayor was there, and Ms. Ward was there, and that was another large gathering of people. It was in regards to a specific thing, but that type of environment inside a house, we can quickly educate you. We can have a possibility of things that people can do in their communities, and then allowing us to converse back and forth. So let's start by emailing me.
Thank you very much, Lieutenant Bruce. Oh. Yeah, we have one card on that, and that would be Bob Baker.
I know Mike's leaving soon, and I'd just like to thank him for all his fine service to the city of San Clemente for the last few years. I thought it was, I got quite a chuckle out of Mike coming and speaking at the city council meeting and telling people the truth about how the California propositions that we, the voters of California, have passed in the last few years have actually increased crime, and then getting slammed in the newspaper for telling the truth about that. It's a very, very odd place to be, and we've all been there. So you'll probably get slammed again tonight, Mike, for telling the truth about all this stuff. But thank you very much for your service to the city of San Clemente, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Members of the audience who wish to address council on matters that are within the jurisdiction of the city of San Clemente but not separately listed on the agenda may do so during the oral communications portion of the meeting. A total time limitation of 30 minutes is allocated for oral communications part 1, with each speaker being allotted 3 minutes in which to give his or her presentation. And I have 2 cards.
First up is Scott Morton, and be followed again by Bob Baker.
Good evening. I live at 1402 Ola Vista. It's on the corner of Gaviota. And we've had 4 traffic accidents there in the last 7 years. I've been there 17 years, and across the street there's probably been 8 more. And so our concern is that the next time it happens, that it may come into the house and somebody may be hurt. We'd like my neighbors and I would like the city to maybe take a look at that corner there, maybe put in some speed bumps or those dots you see on the side of the roads that they hit, maybe get their attention. The last 4 that have been there have been drunk drivers. They didn't even touch their brakes, any of them. And so we feel very fortunate that nobody's been hurt yet. So if we could get this looked at as soon as possible, we'd really appreciate it. Thank you.
We have a process through the engineering department for traffic calming devices, so we'll reach out to them and with engineering and see what we can get started.
Thank you. Next is Bob Baker.
Good evening. I want to speak for a couple of minutes about some of the folks that I've seen come up here and speak over the last few, years actually. Laura, would you pull up Google for me? I'd like to show a couple of things. And will this be shown on television at home when it's on this screen here?
What? Where's that? It's Google what?
I want to go to sandiego.gov.
San Diego got.
Sandiego.gov, yeah. And sandiego.gov. Go to, scroll down a little bit, please. We're looking for stipulations. Well, it worked at home. Can we search for stipulations there somewhere? There we go. Ethics Commission. Click on that top one right there. Now scroll down a little bit. Keep scrolling down to 4915, 2015. There we go, 49. Campaign down there, right down a little bit. Jim Bieber case number, right there. Click on that. Okay, this is a case. This is one of the guys that comes here and speaks all the time, Mr. Bieber. This is a, go to page 3, please. And one more, page 4 there, on number 16, right there at the top. This is arranging and assisting in the preparation of superior invoices to effectively conceal the work performed by respondent. And respondent in this case is Mr. Bieber, as described in paragraphs 11 through 13. Respondent, that's Mr. Bieber, participated with another to violate the elections campaign control ordinance. Scroll down a little bit, please. There on 17, respondent participated with another to violate by arranging for and assisting in the preparation of invoices from Superior that concealed the work performed by Mr. Bieber and resulted in the committee's failure to disclose the work. Number 18, respondent, Mr. Bieber, has significant professional experience with regard to political campaigns, was well aware of the obligation to accurately disclose the identities of vendors. Scroll down a little bit more.
Okay, Bob, I need
Number
you to,
22.
Bob, I do need you to wrap it, okay?
I'm wrapping right here. Respondent agrees to pay a fine in the amount of $1,500 for violating the San Diego Municipal Code. There, that's just one of the guys that comes here and talks like he's an advocate for the city.
I have no other cards.
I have a slide presentation. Well, Bob, I forgot to mention that I was not listed as a sub-vendor on an invoice, and that's what that was about. But thanks for the call out, Bob. Are you still in the room there? Anyway, moving on to current affairs with Kathy Ward. Actually not weeks, the Friday before the election of last November, Kathy Ward posted on social media an article that she had written and crafted and worked on with the OC Weekly that contained numerous slanderous, actually nonstop slanderous accusations against Dan Bain, myself, and another individual. If you go to the next slide, you can see the very lengthy apology letter detailing all of the false statements that reporter was given by Kathy Ward that she used in an attempt to destroy Dan Bain's election and my reputation. Quite lengthy and quite detailed. The next slide, please. There's another very lengthy, detailed letter of apology from the author of that article. So I'll go ahead and paraphrase a few of those. I'd like to apologize to your family, your community, for the post Friday. I was wrong. I should have clarified with you, ... means nothing. The conclusion I reached was erroneous. I was wrong for interpreting your actions. All the articles about you supporting the toll road through San Clemente and the TCA bullying me were also false. In a very lengthy statement to Dan Bain, I apologize for the false statements and factual inaccuracies. I hereby retract the article in full. Anybody disseminating this article should immediately stop, as the article contains too many misrepresentations and factual inaccuracies. I apologize. You can click through these as well. Next slide. The next slide. I would like to apologize for my misleading. I would apologize for wrongfully stating these statements were assumptions, plainly wrong. I deeply regret publishing the misleading and incorrect information. Mrs. Ward, you continued to disseminate this article after it was taken off the OC Weekly, knowing full well that it was false, knowing full well that eventually it would be found out that you were the person behind it. So the next slide, please. This is your option. This is what you can tell the public, much like that reporter. I would like to apologize to Dan Bain, Jim Bieber, and the people of San Clemente for providing fake and malicious information to the reporter of the OC Weekly. I realize that I was, I'll paraphrase because I'm running out of time, releasing it to the public on a Friday night before the election and slandering the public might have been the difference, tricking voters into providing me my thin razor margin of victory. My compulsive lying and showing no remorse is both a mental and character flaw of mine. Because of this, I feel compelled to apologize. So you can go ahead and make that statement tonight, Kathy, and I think everybody in town would feel better off if you did.
Last card here I have is from Brad Malmuth.
Council, it's kind of horrible that this council open session has degenerated into personal attacks. I've been up here a number of times, and I don't want to say I'm the voice of reason because I'm hardly the voice of reason, but I think we should state issues. I know we legally have the right to say whatever we want, but I really find it, say a prior speaker, I'm not even going to mention who, attacked me personally a few weeks ago. I let it go. Again tonight, they attacked somebody. And there's no issues pending. It's just personal attacks. Get in front of the public and make personal attacks. It's so wrong, and it's so unnecessary in a town where, no matter what we feel about former council members, current council members, everybody, I don't think there's anybody here that doubts everybody's trying to do the best job they can for the best interest of the city. We can disagree on policy and not attack each other. I find it sad that it's going on, and I'm glad it's not what happened last year where the council members started barking back. I think it's good that they hold it back, but it really needs to stop. I think the city would be better off for it, and I think the council would be the beneficiary of it. But thank you.
All right, I'll entertain a motion on our consent calendar.
The motion would be to waive reading in full of all resolutions and ordinances.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay.
All in favor? Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay. Closed session report, city attorney.
There's no reportable action taken. Thank you.
All items listed on the consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion without discussion unless council staff or the public requests removal of an item for separate discussion and action. I have not received any requests for removal.
I'd like to request removal of item 6A, City Council minutes. I just have one revision.
Is that it? And then I'll entertain a motion to carry the balance.
I'll move the balance.
I'll second. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried unanimous.
Item 6A.
6A.
Yes, just one revision, Ms. Bade, and that is the motion by Mayor Pro Tem Bain, second by Councilmember Ham, and Councilmember Ward voting no. It was actually Councilmember Ferguson voted no on that one. That was on the lobbyist, Apria.
No. We checked the
Page
tape.
8.
Hold on, listen. Okay.
There's another one. We did check the tape today on the one, and Councilmember Ward did vote against that. That's the legislative services?
Yes, I voted no, actually, 3 times in a row. I remember that evening. So we could ask Councilmember Ward, did you vote no against the contract with Apria Michelli?
I need to know what item number you're speaking of.
Oh,
I haven't found
oh
it.
yes,
What you're
it's
talking
item 6A. It's the minutes, and it's under contract 3519. Okay, 3519, 6A, 18, and it's at the top paragraph. And it captured the motion on the legislative lobbying consultant. Apria Michelli.
I did not vote no.
Yeah, I think
on that.
Thank
I
you.
would have voted yes.
I voted
So
no.
maybe our voices are sounding.
They may
the same.
sound alike.
But I wouldn't have voted
I didn't think so.
no on that.
Yeah, but I did.
Okay, thank you.
So all we need to do is direct to have that corrected? Okay.
just for consistency's sake, since this has come up before, I know you checked the video, but my understanding was that Laura voted no on that item and that Kathy voted yes. But if we could just check the video one last time, but I have no object.
To just confirm she said yes.
I understand, but.
So we'll check it one more time, please.
And I'll make the correction if the minutes were wrong.
Thank you.
That was, okay, will do.
With that being said, can we go ahead and move for this to be accepted, subject to that?
There's a discrepancy, bring it back in the fall.
Bring it back for the next meeting?
If you find another discrepancy.
If there's another discrepancy, but currently, based upon what we just said, is it okay to move the item?
Yes, I'll motion to move the item.
Do it. And I have a second from Councilmember Ham. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay, there are no public hearings this evening. Next item is a report from the city attorney concerning council consideration of an opioid epidemic contingency fee agreement.
Mayor and Council, there were some questions from this last time, and the organizer of the plaintiffs in this class action is former State Senator Dick Ackerman. He's here tonight. So I asked Dick if he could come, and I teed it up a little bit with your deliberations from last time to ask him to speak to you about how disposition from any recovery in this case might be used by state and local agencies. So if you want, he's ready to answer that question and then see what other questions you had.
Mr. Ackerman, please.
Hi, Dick Ackerman of Andrews and Thornton. Mr. Mayor and Council, on that particular question, yeah, any of the either settlement or judgment amounts which the city receives, you can basically spend that any way you want. Some of the other cases that have gone on, some of these mass torts in the past, like the tobacco settlement, they earmark to specific cities, counties, and states how they had to spend it. That is not going to happen again. I think the plaintiff's lawyers this time around are not going to agree to that kind of language, so there'll be no restrictions on what you do with the money. One of the reasons being, and when you start this lawsuit, it's going to take some time, and your priorities may change by the time you get the settlement. So you're going to be in the best position to decide how that money is going to be spent at the time you receive it.
Thank you. Do we have any questions?
I just have a quick question of why we are not able to be in the national case anymore.
You can. You have basically any city or county has a choice. They can do nothing. They can go in the federal case or they can go in the state case, which we're going to be filing sometime this month. It's the opinion of our lawyers, based on looking at some of the prior cases like the tobacco settlements and some of the other mass torts where multiple states have been in, that an individual, particularly an individual city or county, is going to do much better in a state action than they are in a federal action. The federal action is in Ohio. They're going to have many, many states, cities, and counties in that. And our opinion is that cities and counties aren't going to do very well because there's going to be one judge, one settlement, and one lump amount. Most of the major states are going to be filing cases in their own state. California is going to be one of those. I'm sure Texas, New York, all the major states will be doing it. But the one big example of the tobacco settlement, there was one state that was not involved in the global settlement, and I think it was Minnesota, and they got about 10 or 15 times the amount any other state got because they filed their own action.
That answered my question. Thank you.
So, Dan, I think you brought this back up because I had concerns the last time, and my position still stands, and that's we have no control over what another city, county, or state does with that funding. And if a single dollar went to another treatment facility that was not doing treatment like they're supposed to, I just have massive issues with that. So I can't support this, but just like the last two times, if you guys want to move on, I completely understand.
Can we clarify? I thought the city was getting the funding, that we are getting the funding.
Yeah, you'll be the plaintiff in your case, and any settlement or judgment will come to the city.
But there's multiple counties and states that are also going to be plaintiffs as well, correct?
Yeah, there'll be any other cities and counties in California, but they'll each be the individual plaintiff in their action, and their damage claim will go to them.
So we're not agreeing to a class action or agreeing to participate in a court action with the county. So whatever they're going to do anyway. And
yeah, and I agree, and I just don't want to strengthen their case or support their mission, because if a single dollar goes towards a facility that's promising to solve a problem, they're not going to do that, I just can't get behind it.
Yeah, this is different. This is not a class action. This is what they call a mass tort, where you have individual plaintiffs. You're right, in a class action, you're going to get one settlement, and it's going to go to someone or some group, and they're going to decide how it gets divvied up. In this case, you're going to be the plaintiff. You're going to decide what happens.
Dan?
Nope, I don't have any questions. Thanks for
Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any staff input on this? Nope. Is there a motion?
Nope, I'll make a motion that we adopt staff recommendation.
And is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
It carried 4-1 with Council Member Ham opposing.
Report from the Community Development Director regarding a revised local coastal program land use plan amendment resolution.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Cecilia Gallardo-Daly, Community Development Director. Back in December, the Council approved an amendment to the land use plan. We sent the amendment to the Coastal Commission, and they just had some revisions to the actual Council resolution that the Council adopted. So you'll see that the resolution, which is in strikeout underline, just includes some things like the definition of the land use change and when the effective date of the amendment will take place. I'm available for questions if you have any.
So basically, we're looking at a cleanup of language and other things.
Yeah.
And you got our punctuation in the right place this time?
Okay. I think so.
Yes. Questions?
I was going to make a motion if there's no comments. Okay. I move that we adopt a revised resolution number 1857, titled Resolution of the City Council of the City of San Clemente, California, adopt the Land Use Plan Amendment, LUPA, and authorize submittal of the local coastal program Land Use Plan Amendment regarding the definition of major remodel in Chapter 7 to the California Coastal Commission for processing.
Do I have a second?
Second.
The motion is made by Councilmember Ham and seconded by Councilmember Ward. Any further discussion? No. Okay. Yeah, I know. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried 4 with Councilmember Bain absent.
Okay. Report from the Assistant City Manager concerning the city's vehicle use policy.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. Mike Johnston, Management Analyst with the City Manager's Office. The item before you this evening is a report on the city's vehicle use policy. At its last meeting, the Council on February 19th directed staff to agendize an item to review and discuss the city's vehicle use policy. And in November of 1993, the city established Vehicle Use Policy 1002-1. And the purpose of the vehicle use policy is to establish guidelines for the use of city-owned vehicles and personal vehicles while being used while conducting city business. The policy is designed to address issues of city liability, vehicle maintenance, and appropriate use of city vehicles by public employees. So with that said, staff is recommending that the City Council provide direction to the City Manager regarding the city's vehicle use policy. And that concludes my report, and I'm available for any questions.
Council, any questions?
So I brought this up, and like many of the other policies that we have, this one was approved back in 1993, so I, for one, would like to see it updated. I don't have any specifics, but in terms of looking at what other cities' policies are, I think you should take a look at this and make sure that it's current. The one item that I was looking for was, related to use of city vehicles if an employee is getting a stipend as well. I see that there is a provision in the policy for that. So I'm happy about that and want to see that remain. The one question I had is policy section 4.5. And I had a little bit of clarification on this today, but I just want to make sure that it's spelled out in our policies, and it's employees found in violation of this policies are subject to disciplinary action. I know that the city has a disciplinary process in place, so if this could just reference to that, it doesn't need to spell it all out here, but I think it's just a reference to what the policy is so that folks know, and there's consistency in terms of applying this amongst all the various city staff. I think that'd be appropriate. So I think that's all I had for now.
And I would think we're, in giving direction, I'd also like to see that we do some comparative as to what some other cities in our area or surrounding area are also doing, so that we, have something to base it on.
So how far of a net should we cast? South Orange County, the JPIA member cities?
Fine, South Orange, the surrounding cities for us down here. And we don't need to go look at Stockton to see what they're doing.
I think if we allow them to go up to Irvine, just because a lot of the cities around us are contract cities and they don't have employees or motor pools, so this doesn't really apply to them.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good.
Does that make sense, James?
Or find, as many as you can find out that are similar setup as we are.
And James, how many people have an auto allowance, monthly auto allowance, and how much is that?
I believe it's 5. It's the department heads and myself, and I can't remember exactly how much it is. $450 a month, but I'm not sure. I'd have to get that from the HR department.
Anything else from anybody?
So, did Councilmember Bain move that item?
We just gave direction.
It doesn't need a vote then?
No.
Okay.
I have one more question, if I may. In 4.5, section 4.5, employees found in violation of this policy are subject to disciplinary action. What is the disciplinary action?
Well, disciplinary action is typically the Skelly process. So it's progressive discipline depending on the action. So I've told the department heads that receive an auto allowance to make sure that they're following the vehicle policy. So if one of them was to violate it, I guess the next step would be to do a verbal reprimand.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, one final thing to jog my memory. Is there a check-in, check-out process for the vehicles, meaning?
It depends on what department or division the vehicle is in. City manager's office has a vehicle, and either my assistant or the assistant city manager's assistant, schedules if someone needs that vehicle. And then they hand out the keys.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item.
Okay. Report from the city attorney concerning the possibility of amending the code of the city of San Clemente relating to enforcement of camping ordinances.
Mayor and council, we've talked about this quite a bit. I gave a report on a case decided by the Ninth Circuit last fall entitled Martin versus City of Boise. I excerpted the important part of that case here. The city's practices with regards to interface and arrests of people sleeping or camping in public is consistent with this policy, but we wanted to make that consistent so that your code is facially consistent with this holding. So it's a quick, simple sentence. The council refreshed that chapter of the municipal code last year, as you may remember, updated it, and it just needed this last little caveat in it. So with that, it's presented for introduction and first reading tonight.
Any other discussion on this?
A question. So enforcement under Section 2, can you give some examples of what we think would be considered exigent circumstances? Because this is obviously a timely topic. I know today there was a heater that was outside with a propane tank. Is that something that we could consider an exigent circumstance?
Yeah, that heater is, there's an inquiry going on now about whether that heater is stocked with fuel, and it is in close proximity to an electrical box. So that combination of factors would satisfy this test. One that is currently being dealt with is people who intentionally or accidentally fall asleep on the beach, and they're not aware of tides and the dangers that might present. So even now, under that finding, when people are put in that kind of peril, there are people who've bedded down for night in the cliffs or in the bluffs above the beach or next to the state beach. That's an obviously dangerous activity. I know some Boy Scouts who would love to camp there, but it's not safe. So where that immediate threat is presented is what this is getting at. And the arresting deputy or the deputy that does that interface would know that they need to annotate the immediate peril that's going on in that situation before making an arrest or asking the person to move.
Okay, so it's our deputies that would make that determination, okay.
And they've been trained in proper protocols on how to do that.
Any other questions? I'll entertain the motion to move this. Would someone like to make the motion?
I'll make a motion that we adopt staff recommendation, introduce ordinance number 1671.
Second.
Motion has been made by Councilmember Bain, seconded by Councilmember Ham. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried unanimous.
Oral communications, part 2, I have one speaker card.
George Gregory.
Ladies and gentlemen, George Gregory, criminal, North Beach. I'm here once again to ask you to agendize street sweeping and vehicle parking laws. It is immoral, ethically, to indenture your citizens with rules that do not apply to the public in general. Also, it's just really unfair and mean. To agendize this, we could clarify the rules and the regulations that persecute the poorer people of our community and selectively enforce these rules that persecute these people fiscally and possibly their freedom. Now, we could do this several ways. We could give people stickers. We could keep a better eye out on it, or tell Mr. Schwartz he can't carry a ladder on his car to be fair with everybody else. I just carry a ladder on a truck, securely fastened to a ladder rack, much like you would fasten a surfboard to a surfboard rack. Now, I wouldn't care if you're carrying a surfboard or a fence board on your rack, but San Clemente seems to think that's a big issue. One of the reasons I didn't like our last lawyer is because he let that law go through. Mr. Smith, you have to know that's not fair. You can't indenture others and not indenture yourself. These rules and regulations are unfair. And who knows what we're all going to evolve into. Dan, you could have problems later on and be a finished carpenter right next to me.
You'd be so lucky.
You'd probably be happier. I can only hope. So the thing is, Mr. Swartz, the thing is that the city's not going to get populated with a bunch of trucks and ladders. It's going to be pretty much the same way it is now. The thing is, I think you should look at the commercial laws to prevent people from storing fleets like Cox Cable or Bill Metzner. Thing is, I have a truck. That's my personal vehicle. I prefer to have a truck in a car. Sometimes my truck winds up out on the street because my mom's coming over and she needs the driveway. And not all places in San Clemente have driveways or places to store a vehicle. What we are doing is dictating how you're going to make your living and how you're going to live. And that is just totally, totally wrong. So anyways, people have gone to war for a whole lot less, like tax on tea. So let's think about it. Let's be fair. Please agendize this. Is there any questions? Can I spur you some other way? I forgot my cream pies. I don't know what to do. I don't have millions of dollars to fight a lawyer.
Just going to ask you to send me an email, if you could, and I'd be happy to meet with you.
That's a start. Thank you, Mr. Bain. Anybody else? That's a start. Thank you, Mr. Bain. Thank you.
James, I think that our street sweeping, that hasn't been talked about in a long time. I don't know if we say it anywhere, but I don't even know if the rest of the city knows what the neighborhood pride area is and why the rules are what they are. I'm just wondering if maybe Cynthia, through the Clean Ocean program or something, can just maybe this year put something out. I'm thinking it's just so old.
Let me jump in real quick, James. So I think it's coming, our contract's coming up with our street sweeper, and what it does, last council asked that we look at changing the street sweeping policy that Mr. Gregory is speaking about so that everybody is treated equally. So
we're going to be doing that
when the contract comes up.
New contract, yeah. And look at that stuff. Okay.
That's fine.
I didn't know we were speaking to this now. I was going to mention it under council comments, but so this particular policy, which Mr. Gregory's referring to, is 10.28.230. That essentially is going to come back, did you say?
Yeah, we can't get into a conversation on this.
Okay.
But what was
okay, I'll save it for council comments.
Yeah.
Okay. It was two items, though. One's street sweeping, one's the truck with the ladder. Yeah. The street sweeping one's the one I'm referring to.
Okay.
Okay. City Manager.
Just wanted to update the public that we're currently doing sand pushing out on the beach to the extent that our beach maintenance policy allows us. We've been doing this in accordance with the tides and everything as there's sand available. Also wanted to let you know that we have a restaurant in process with community development for the Itchy Baron site, a Mexican restaurant. They're currently working on the permitting process, entitlement process with community development. They'll be doing fresh juices and Mexican food there. And then utilities wanted to let the community know, especially the school-age kids, that the Water District, MWDOC, is doing a Water is Life poster contest. And if you go to their website, mwdoc.com/poster contest, they're looking for entries from San Clemente school-age children. And then the last thing I have is the long-term financial plan meeting is on March 11th at 4 p.m. here at the Presidio City Hall. And that's all I have.
City Attorney.
I've got nothing more tonight, thank you.
Council members.
Hi, I'd like to actually request by the council to see if I have support for actually agendizing the ordinance that Mr. Gregory has been talking to council about a couple times since I've been on city council. And I know the ordinance, and I've read it, and it appears to be like it became a catch-all, and ladders that don't extend the length of a truck, got rolled up in that when it was really focusing on more of the large commercial fleets. So I would like to take a look at that again. It's been since 2009 when it was adopted, and I know, let's see, there's one council member here, Mr. Ham, who was actually on a subcommittee for that back when. So do I have support to bring that back for a meeting possibly in April?
I wouldn't be supporting it at this time, only because we've already indicated we're going to want to review it at the time that the street sweeping contract comes up. We'll be looking at all that at the same time.
Oh, I thought those were two separate things. I'm talking about the truck, the commercial vehicle, and the ladder. It's being included on the commercial trucks.
We have a single ordinance with a single item only covering ladders on trucks?
It's commercial vehicle. It's 10.28.230 is the actual ordinance.
So, Scott, stop us if we're getting too far in depth, but I was on a subcommittee, I already discussed this. I don't know if Mr. Gregory remembers us discussing it after I was done that subcommittee, but I'm willing to discuss it again with Mr. Gregory to go over our findings. But for the most part, we're not off base from what other communities are doing with that policy. But I do hear his concern, and I'm not going to support bringing it back. But if there's an ability for me to say what I learned, that's fine. But
yeah, I would like to encourage you to go ahead and meet with him and go over that again.
Sure, I mean,
and maybe Council Member Ferguson would like to be with you.
Sure, and I'll go meet with Mr. Gregory as well, but I'd be supportive of bringing it back just to take a look at it. I mean, it was back in 2009, and if there's ways to be creative, then talk about that as well. So I would be supportive. So.
I'm trying to decide whether it should come back or Councilmember Bain should talk to him and flesh it out a little more before we say that we're going to bring it back. I thought that's what I was hoping that was what was going to happen.
Yeah, that was leaning that way too. Instead of just bringing it back for us and then starting to go out again.
Yeah, I'm not against looking at it again. I want you to know that, but I want a little clearer direction of what we're.
Okay, well, since Councilmember Ham was on the subcommittee before, I would like him to also be on this one. So if you could coordinate with Councilmember Ferguson and Councilmember Bain, however they want to work it, so that we don't violate Brown Acts, we can go forward on that. Okay, and then after that, we'll bring it back to us. That work?
So I'm just going to tell you that the last subcommittee decided there was no reason to bring it back. So the last half of your.
Well, you can report on how the conclusion was. How's that?
Okay.
Meeting with them.
Under Councilmember Adams, next meeting?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that acceptable, Scott?
Yeah, and we have new members too, so that may think differently.
So the subcommittee is?
It's going to be Laura and Chris. I'm going to meet with Mr. Gregory separately.
Okay. More?
So I had the opportunity to go and tour Rancho Mission Viejo Don O'Neill Conservancy Reserve. I got a lot of great information. We're blessed with open space here in the city of San Clemente, so unfortunately our residents aren't taking part in the reserve as much as they probably should be. But that being said, they do have a website that they have a ton of kids opportunities and programming that you can do. It costs between $0, $5, and $10 depending on what the program is. They do spring break programming as well as summer programming, so if you want your kids to get out there and get off the iPad that Chief Peters was talking about and see the world, this is a great opportunity to do so. Their website's rmvreserve.org, and I'm going to be working with staff to get a list of all the upcoming events that they have for this calendar year on, so that people know how to take advantage of the opportunities from this side of the reserve. I guess in years past, we've had zero turnout essentially. So trying to spur people to come out and check it out. Maybe Eric can comment on it in the SC Times and get it out there to people that we do have this opportunity. One of the cool things that I found when I was out there was there was fresh mountain lion tracks, which was pretty interesting to know that there's large mountain lions right behind Talega. So anyways, very exciting, and I hope people get out there and take a look at what we have for open space right behind us.
I'd like to just comment on, I was able to partake with about 40 other mayors and council members, principal for a day. I served as principal of San Clemente High School for the day. I got to walk around with Principal Clark and saw the excellent manner in which he's accepted and works with the kids and all the teachers at that school. I was very impressed with how well they interacted. And I was mostly impressed because we all ended up at District for lunch to go over again what we all saw. And lunch was crafted and served by the cuisine class of San Clemente High School. So it was excellent food. They did some great stuffed pasta, both with and without meat. And so it was a great day, and I want to thank them all for it. And I believe our high school is in very good hands. And then I did want to mention in regards to the, we have a challenge coming up. I mentioned it earlier just a little bit. The Wyland National Mayor's Challenge for Water Conservation. And that will be coming up. We sneakily voted on it in our consent calendar. But we did very well last year, and I'm hoping you can make me proud and do well again this year. So that's all for me.
I have a quick comment that I'd like to make. Lou Avera was in our audience earlier, and I think he must have thought this was going to be a really long meeting because he left. So I just want to say to him that since he left, that I wanted to wish him a happy birthday. It is this Thursday, and he's going to be 86. Wow. And I just think he's pretty amazing. So I wanted to mention that so that I can embarrass him because he left early. Okay. So happy birthday, Lou.
Happy birthday, Lou. Anything else?
I'll read the second ordinances. You want to announce it, Joanne? Resolutions and ordinance, second reading?
Sure. This is ordinance number 1668, second reading, relating to accessory dwelling units, ADUs.
Okay, I move that we adopt ordinance number 1668, entitled Ordinance of the City Council of the City of San Clemente, California, for a city-initiated amendment, ZA 18-243 of the City of San Clemente, Municipal Code Title 17 for accessory dwelling units.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made by Councilmember Ham, seconded by Councilmember Bain. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried unanimous. Next.
I move that we adopt ordinance number 1616, entitled an ordinance of the City Council of the City of San Clemente, California, amending Municipal Code Chapter 15-76 to update the floodplain management code to meet the minimum requirements of the National Flood Insurance Program.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made by Councilmember Ham, seconded by Councilmember Ferguson. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried unanimous.
Item C, I move that we adopt ordinance number 1617, entitled an ordinance of the City Council of the City of San Clemente, California, repealing section 2.04.050 of the Code of the City of San Clemente relating to the City Council proceedings being governed under Robert's Rules of Order.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Ham, second by Councilmember Bain. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried unanimous. Okay. Would someone like to make the motion for adjournment?
Me. I move that we adjourn to an adjourned regular council meeting to be held on Monday, March 11th, 2019 at 4:00 p.m. in the council chambers located at 100 Avenida Presidio, San Clemente, California, for the purpose of conducting a workshop on the long-term financial plan, the LTFP. The next regular council meeting will be held on Tuesday, March 19th, 2019 in the council chambers located at 100 Avenida Presidio, San Clemente, California. Closed session items will be considered at 5 p.m. The regular business meeting will commence at 6:00 p.m.
We have a motion by Councilmember Ward and second by Councilmember Ham. All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. We are adjourned.